This film is sponsored by New York Life and its dedicated agents, proud sponsors of NFL team highlight films. New York Life, the company you keep. In 1992, the Indianapolis Colts readjusted their mental approach to football. In the process, they restored pride to the symbol of a great sports tradition.
I always, even as a kid growing up, thought that the horseshoe was one of the most distinctive logos in all of sport, a little bit like the NY of the Yankees. And something I think that we always talk about, that it's very important that when you put the horseshoes on, that you represent something in a great tradition here in this franchise.
In his second stint as head coach, Ted Marchibroda proved to be the perfect embodiment of this tradition.
He always and will be a Colt, and I don't know of many people that have more pride in the horseshoe than he does, and that feeling from your leader goes to others in the organization. It becomes contagious.
This contagious spirit was immediately apparent in a win over Cleveland, the Colts' first opening day victory in 9 seasons. After going 1-15 in 1991, these new-look Colts turned their image upside down with a vengeance. At times, they seemed capable of dancing on the ceiling, after many had predicted they would be dwelling in the cellar. This was a team on the rebound, and while they didn't always grab the rebound, the Colts never lost the handle on their commitment to work hard and remain competitive throughout the season. The Colts maintained a firm grasp on their quest to improve, and they finished with a 9-7 mark that made Indianapolis the first franchise in NFL history to go from a 1-15 record to a winning record in a single season. A season-ending 5-game winning streak that nearly got them to the playoffs was made possible by the team's strengthened self-respect. Just as he had done during the mid-'70s, Ted Marchibroda had taught the Colts how to win by believing in what the horseshoe stands for and by believing in themselves.
I always wanted to come back to the organization, and I feel that I made the right decision last year when I came back, because the organization has given me everything to win with. And it was such an outstanding year last year that I felt I had pride in the horseshoe in coming here. And after seeing the football team play, I know that they have that same pride.
Opening day 1992 brought renewed hope and new faces, including #1 draft choices Steve Empman, number 79, and Quentin Coriat, number 55, a pair of gifted rookies who helped the defense batter the Cleveland Browns 14-3. The Colts registered a franchise record-tying 11 sacks, 4 of them by veteran linebacker Chip Banks, number 51, who also produced one of 2 interceptions in the Colts' first ever opening day victory since moving to Indianapolis in 1984. Three games later, the Colts evened their record at 2-2 when Jeff George made his first appearance since suffering a preseason injury. George's passing and pass thefts by the secondary helped thwart Tampa Bay.
Jeff George back to pass, looking deep, he's got a man open, touchdown Colts! Backpedaling is Testaverde, looks over the middle, throws, ball tipped up and picked up for the Colts! Good making a touchdown, he's at the 20, cuts back at the 15, 10, 5, tackled at the 2-yard line!
Chris Good and number 38 Eugene Daniel produced key picks in the 24-14 victory.
Back to throw, Jeff George looks, throws, in the end zone, a touchdown! The catch is made by Cash.
Third-year quarterback Jeff George and second-year tight end Kerry Cash are part of the team's burgeoning youth movement on offense, a movement that holds considerable promise for the future. Cash became the first Colt tight end in 20 years to catch 40 or more passes in a single season, and Indianapolis was able to effectively employ a two tight end formation, featuring Cash and first-year pro Charles Arbuckle, number 81. The workhorse of the offense was number 23, Anthony Johnson, whose 240 yards from scrimmage against the Patriots was a team record. In only his third NFL campaign, Johnson has become one of the league's most versatile backs. Also versatile were third-year back Ken Clark and rookie Rodney Culver, number 35, who led the team in touchdowns. Like all of the Colts youngsters, Culver's attitude is as impressive as his ability.
We had a draft where all of these kids enjoyed playing football. It just seemed that they could hardly wait to hit the practice field, and they worked the entire time that they were on the practice field. And I think that some of this rubs on your other football players, and it was this kind of a draft that the players realized, hey, we have a pretty good football team.
Defensively, the team's youth movement was spearheaded by Steve Empman and Quentin Coriat. The first two selections in the 1992 draft instantly demonstrated their star quality.
They came in and lived up to their billing. I think they really helped to get us jump-started. They have great work ethic, which we knew, tremendous amounts of talent. Steve Empman is a unique lineman. He's a very good athlete with excellent burst. He has a tremendous motor. He never stops. I mean, he constantly goes to the ball. And I think a very much of an impact player.
There's no question that Quentin Coriat's going to be a force in this league. He can, I think, probably literally redefine the position he plays. He's got that type of talent.
Other developing defenders included rookies Tony McCoy, number 94, and Stephen Grant, and third-year pros Tony Siragusa, number 98, and Tony Walker, number 92. Ashley Ambrose and Jason Belser, number 29, both brought rookie fire and enthusiasm to the defensive backfield. Belser's outstanding special teams play was a key reason why veteran punter Ron Stark was selected to the Pro Bowl. Stark placed 22 punts inside the 20, punts often down by Belser, who was also part of a hard-charging punt coverage unit that showed the Colts' young players at their heads-up hustling best. Indianapolis allowed the lowest punt return average in the AFC, an impressive achievement given the fact that only two punters in the conference punted more times than Stark. The special teams were also distinguished by the wizardry of Clarence Verdun, who earned his second Pro Bowl berth as a return specialist.
And McCarthy gets the kick away. A wobbler off the right side of his foot. Taken at the 47-yard line by Verdun. He hits to the left side through a hole at the 40. He's to the 30. He's to the 20. Down the sideline. He's going to high kick into the end zone. Touchdown! A 53-yard punt return by Clarence Verdun.
Special teams and rookies helped produce a shining moment when the Colts traveled to Miami in Week 8 to face a Dolphin team that had yet to lose.
Jeff George hands off to Culver, and Culver breaks a tackle, gets down to the goal line, and he goes in for the touchdown. Rodney Culver refused to go down. Backpedaling all the way to the 15 is Verdun. He comes to the near side, hops away, cuts back into the middle, gets across the 30, 35. He's got it all the way. Here goes Verdun down the near sidelines. It's a foot race. He's to the 15, the 10, the 5. He scores!
Verdun's 84-yard return provided the prelude to a furious fourth period that saw the Colts take a 17-14 lead after a fumbled punt recovery set up a field goal. Miami quickly reclaimed the advantage. Then Jeff George responded by capping a 73-yard scoring drive.
Third down and goal. George bootlegs to the left. He's going to take it in. He scores! Jeff George on a naked reverse. With 1:32 to go, the Colts take the lead.
This cliffhanger of a contest featured a nail-biting finish as Miami had one last chance to win the game. but Steve Empman created an incredible climax.
4th and goal at the 7. 17 seconds to play. The Colts lead by 4. Slot left, slot right, shotgun spread. Humphries a step to the right side of Marino. Quick snap to Dan. He looks, he throws.
Oh,
ball batted up in the air, and it's picked off.
Steve Edmond.
Edmond lumbering down the far sideline. He's to the 50. He's to the 40. He is going to score. Edmond is going to score, and the Colts win. The time is run out, and the Colts win. Edmond, the most unlikely play you'll ever see.
Oh, my God.
Empman wasn't the only one left breathless by this stunning victory, as the Colts discovered that their new winning spirit was strong enough to put them on equal footing with the NFL's elite. A variety of rhythms provided the soundtrack for an unforgettable season. The most distinctive beat was the winning tempo created by the players. Free agents, Plan B acquisitions, and rookies harmonized with longtime Colt veterans. A new team identity was forged by young sprouts and proud seasoned oaks, like those on an offensive line that included 13-year veteran center Ray Donaldson, number 53, guards Ron Solt and Randy Dixon, number 69, and tackles Zephyrus Moss and number 71 Kevin Call, a 9-year pro. There were fast young guns and steady, experienced old hands, such as those that belonged to wide receiver Bill Brooks, number 80. After 7 seasons in Indianapolis, Brooks became the second most prolific pass catcher in franchise history. Another 7-year veteran, Jesse Hester, number 84, possesses a still active club record streak of 46 consecutive games with at least 1 reception. 8-year pro Reggie Langhorne, number 85, led the Colts with 65 receptions in 1992.
The nice thing for a quarterback to know on those guys is that they'll try their hardest to get the ball every time. And they're all very different, I think. Jesse has got the speed and great quickness. Billy's kind of the guy that you can always count on to make a catch. Reggie's a big, strong guy. He makes a lot of nice catches and is good with guys leaning on him.
Reggie was a pleasant surprise for us. Reggie was a Plan B acquisition, and he realized exactly what he could do. And Reggie also assumed a leadership role on his football team.
Of course, the team's most influential leader is Ted Marchibroda, who has engineered 2 of the best seasonal turnarounds in league history, both of them as head coach of the Colts.
He had done it before. He had won division championships. He had turned teams around from 2-12 to 10-4. So we knew if we gave him the players, along with the excellent coaching staff he assembled, we knew we had a good chance of really improving on the season.
Just proved that Ted has gotten even better, a little older, but a little better than he was with more experience he picked up. And so, you know, with that put together with the players we got in the draft, and I think overall our other players started to play better than they did with the other coaching staff we had.
A lot of guys looked up to him, knowing that in the past, you know, when he was with the Colts in '75, that he always had that winning attitude, and that really made us really believe in ourselves that we can go out on any given day and defeat any team in the NFL.
Jeff Herrod has always believed in himself, and he has always backed up that belief with a relentless attacking style of play.
I do consider myself an aggressive player, you know, and I think that's one of the keys of being an outstanding linebacker in this league today is being very aggressive, you know, hustle every play, and I think my success is surrounded by being so aggressive.
Jeff, in my estimation, is the leader of our football team. I recognized this early in training camp, and he's a tremendous football player.
If a little spaceship landed and a little green man walked out and said, "What is a football player?" I would walk him out to the practice field and point at number 54 and said, "That is a football player." I mean, he has every quality you're looking for, and he represents us as a Colt like really probably no other player.
The Colts featured another trigger man on defense, Dwayne Bickett, who combined with Herod to provide the linebacking core with double-barreled firepower.
Bickett is a guy who you appreciate as the years go on, as the games go on, and on a high level of consistency. Probably as good a run player as there is in the league from an outside standpoint. Makes an unusual amount of tackles for an outside backer. Good cover guy, good rush guy. Really total package guy, and a guy that's there every Sunday, always battling.
Other veterans who solidified the Colts' much-improved defense included backs Eugene Daniel, Michael Ball, John Baylor, Chris Good, Tony Stargell, and Mike Pryor, number 39, and defensive end Sam Clancy, number 76, Skip McClendon, and John Hand, number 78. Linebackers Scott Radisick, number 97, and Chip Banks, number 51, were also rejuvenated players who helped revitalize the defense.
I think it was really a bunch of guys playing hard together, a real cohesive unit that played real smart football and real hard football.
4 opponents were held to single-digit point totals, the first time a Colt defense accomplished that feat in 17 years. This unit produced the 4th highest total of takeaways in the AFC, while surrendering 13 fewer touchdowns than it had in 1991.
We had a tremendous improvement in pass defense and turnover ratio, and then I think we finished on a real high note. I was real pleased the way we came together as a unit and really held things strong there in the last month.
But before the defense hit its stride during that last month, the entire team struggled. Adversity struck hard during the first 4 weeks of November when the Colts failed to post a single victory. They suffered 2 shutouts and an overtime defeat to New England. Injuries proved damaging, as Quentin Coriat and Steve Empman were both lost for the season after establishing themselves as impact players. But despite this rough stretch, the team's confidence would reemerge, and its pride would eventually answer the prayers of the Colts faithful. After 4 straight losses, the Colts' high-flying optimism seemed like so much hot air, and the Buffalo Bills threatened to make matters worse.
We're 4-7. We really are against the rope, so to speak, and we have the best team in the AFC come into town with these injuries, with being on a losing streak, and get down by 10 points. It's hard to create a tougher situation to come back in.
But Jack Trudeau and Charles Arbuckle sparked the total team effort that produced an amazing comeback.
3rd down, less than 2 yards. Inside handoff, Culver, touchdown! Quick drop by Kelly on 3rd and 8. He throws over the middle. It's picked up by Stargell. Stargell at the 50. He's to the 45, the 40, out of bounds at the 35-yard line.
After Tony Stargell's interception, Trudeau's pass to Reggie Langhorne set up Dean Biasucci's game-tying field goal. Then, in overtime, Biasucci had the chance to secure a tide-turning triumph.
Biasucci looking, staring ahead, waiting. There's a snap a bit high. The kick is on the way, and it's good! It's good! The Colts, a 16-point underdog. They have upset the Buffalo Bills in overtime.
It really was remarkable, and I think the Buffalo game will always be remembered as such a big victory.
This upset had a snowball effect, and the Colts next chilled the Patriots in New England as they racked up their first shutout since 1988. Devastating defense keyed a 6-0 win that saw Indianapolis register 8 sacks, 3.5 of them by Dwayne Bickett. The following week against the Jets, defense again dominated, creating 5 takeaways that guaranteed the Colts their first divisional winning record in 5 years. In the 10-6 victory, Jack Trudeau replaced Jeff George and proved himself the consummate relief pitcher.
And back to throw is Trudeau. He goes for it all, and a diving catch for the touchdown! A diving catch, and it's Charles Arbuckle!
Jack rallied us, made outstanding plays. Jack is ready to play every week. He does an excellent job of preparing himself. He knows the game plan extremely well. He has tremendous leadership, and the guys respect him.
It's really fortunate to have that experience and that depth at quarterback, because you need at least two, and I'm not so sure you don't need three if the way you look at the way some situations have gone on the injury front the last couple years.
The next game found George back in the starter's role, and his 328 passing yards frustrated the Phoenix secondary.
George back to throw. He looks, he stays in the pocket, he throws deep, he's got Johnson open, he makes a catch, he's in the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Anthony Johnson!
With less than a minute to play, Biasucci broke a 13-13 tie.
The placement, and the kick, it's on the way! Beautiful! He split the uprights from 42 yards out, and it's a 16-13 Colt lead, 49 to go.
Mike Pryor's 3 interceptions paved the way for another close victory for the Cardiac Colts.
It seemed as if every ball game that we won certainly was a war. I mean, and it's a draining feeling, because basically when you play a lot of games like we did, we played them on a very low margin for error type of deal. And so every call, every play became very significant. But, you know, of course, that's the excitement of the hunt. That's what we're all in it for.
At Cincinnati, the Colts were more like the hunted than the hunters during the first half of the final game of the year. But despite the huge deficit, the team refused to fold. In 1992, mounting a comeback had become a specialty, and this contest would mark the 6th time the Colts earned a win after trailing or being tied in the 4th period. In the second half, Jack Trudeau took over for an injured Jeff George and methodically mixed run and pass to mount another incredible come-from-behind victory.
Back to throw. He looks, he throws, and a touchdown! A touchdown for the Colts, and it was Kerry Cash, the tight end. Trudeau back to pass, going for the end zone, and it's a touchdown! Bill Brooks! And on a draw, they get the Culver up the middle. He's to the 30, the 25, the 20. He gets a block. He's to the 10, 5, touchdown!
When it was all over, the Colts had earned their 5th straight victory to finish with a stunning 9-7 record, proof that Ted Marchibroda had taught this team how to do whatever it takes to win. The confident Colts had learned their lessons well, and this memorable 1992 season will go down as the year that they rediscovered the pride in their past and found the promise in their future.
It was a big season for us from the standpoint that a lot of our guys probably didn't believe we could win. And when you win close games during the course of a season, it certainly makes guys want to work hard in the offseason to get ready for the next year.
The players know it, and we know it, and the coaches know that we can win almost any game with anybody in this country. And I think looking at our schedule this year, we're going to have to think about those thoughts, because we've got a tough schedule. But I think we're going to be able to show up, and we're going to give everybody a good run for their money, and I think we're going to be close to what we did last year.
We just overcame a lot of adversity and came together as one and decided, hey, we're going to play ball and make a name for ourselves throughout this league. And I think we did a hell of a job of doing that.
Hi, I'm Steve Sable. The Colts' refusal to be demoralized by their 1-15 record of 1991 speaks volumes about their new attitude. The arrival of Ted Marchibroda and the quick signings of Steve Empman and Quentin Coryatt provided concrete evidence that the Colts intended to go all out off the field. And once the '92 season started, they went all out on the field as well. During the 1993 offseason, the Colt front office has been busy again. This time, taking steps to ensure that their amazing turnaround was no fluke. Their #1 priority is to move the football more effectively, and to that end, they've been active in the free agent market, and they made highly touted wide receiver Sean Dawkins from California their top selection in the draft. The 1993 Colts face some question marks, but a preview of the upcoming season demonstrates that they found some answers during 1992.
In 1992, the Colts surprised everyone with their 9-7 record, and while they definitely embodied the term winning ugly, the team's optimism about 1993 is more than just another snow job. Last year's upsets over Buffalo and Miami showed that the Colts can play with the big boys and pointed to the success of the total team concept stressed by Ted Marchibroda.
Jeff George didn't make us 9-7. Jack Trudeau didn't make us 9-7. Steve Ettman didn't make us 9-7. We were 9-7 as a team, and I think that's the most important thing to remember going into this season is that I don't know who are going to be the people that are going to step up and are going to be the people that win games and do the things you need to do to win games, but I know it has to come from all 47 individuals.
Total team effort was especially obvious on defense. And with linebackers Jeff Herrod, number 54, and Dwayne Bickett anchoring this much improved unit, defense is likely to be the Colts' strong suit in '93.
You know, we've only been together for a little while, and it takes a while for everyone to play together, and you know, you kind of start playing off each other a little bit, and as soon as you get a tight net defense, will be a great defense.
Much is expected from number 90 Steve Empman and Quentin Coriat, the two top selections in the '92 draft. Both showed flashes of brilliance before their rookie campaigns were cut short by injury.
Steve Ettman came in, worked extremely hard, and really started playing the way that we thought he eventually could play sooner than we thought. And Steve is going to be a great player, and he seems to make everyone around him better.
Quentin and Steve bring a lot of youth, a lot of speed and strength to this ball club, and it's going to be an outstanding year, you know, this year for those guys, you know, coming in healthy.
I think Coriat and Entman are really going to come into their own this year. I think they got the unsung player of the NFL in Jeff Herrod, a terrific playmaking linebacker there that nobody ever talks about. I think Coriat and Entman are going to be very impactful, and they're going to prove that the Colts made two great picks at the top of the '92 draft.
Defensively, the Colts will seek to build on the momentum they established toward the end of 1992 when they allowed just 49 points in their final 5 games, all victories. Even though Indianapolis played aggressive defense in '92, especially in terms of pass coverage and creating turnovers, there is always room for improvement.
Probably the biggest area that we've got to improve on, as well as maintaining our strong points, is the ability to stop the running game and to control that aspect of the game.
Offensively, Ted Marchibroda must find a way to start the run. And while the Colts have two versatile backs in number 23 Anthony Johnson and Rodney Culver, the team ranked dead last in rushing yardage in '92. In an effort to improve their running game, the Colts have gone free agent shopping to shore up their offensive line, bringing in veteran center Kirk Loudermilk from Minnesota, and also Pro Bowl tackle Will Wolford from the Bills. These proven performers will also help solidify pass protection for Jack Trudeau and Jeff George. Trudeau directed the team to 4 of their final 5 victories. But George remains Ted's top gun, despite injuries and inconsistency last season.
Jeff contributed tremendously to the excellent season that we have, and he got hurt again at the end of the year. But he'll be going into this year with a better understanding of the offense. Jeff understands football. He knows exactly why we're doing what we're doing, why we're doing it, and I think this is going to be a tremendous contributing factor to an excellent year this year.
During his 3 NFL seasons, George's raw passing talent has been obvious, but now he must step forward and become a mature leader, for the Colts know that life will be much tougher in the NFL come 1993.
When you get respectability back like we did, immediately your opponent looks at you in a very different light. Everyone prepares extra hard for you now that you've achieved respectability again. We're not going to sneak up on anybody.
But with talented defensive players like Entman and Dwayne Bickett, number 50, the Colts won't have to do much sneaking. They have the weapons to wage an all-out attack on opponents. And if George and company can master Marchibroda's quick-tempo offense, then the Colts may very well continue the upward swing that began unexpectedly in 1992.
This year, we will have had a year under our belt. The ball club knows each other, and I think we may be more of a solid football team this year. And I think as long as we can remain focused, such as we did last year, we're looking forward to an excellent season.
Colts linebackers Jeff Herrod, Quentin Coryat, and Dwayne Bickett comprise a trio of intense competitors. And a look back at the team's history shows that the Colts had one of the most intensely competitive linebackers who ever played the game. From 1965 through 1975, Mike Curtis bared his fangs with such ferocity that he earned the nickname Mad Dog. Now, in the following classic segment, you'll find out that Curtis's nickname was richly deserved. But our classic segment begins with a salute to a Colts Hall of Famer, tackle Jim Parker.
In 1957, the Baltimore Colts' top draft choice was a 6'5", 300-pound All-American lineman named Jim Parker, who found pro football in Baltimore to be a step down from what he was used to at Ohio State.
It was a tough transition coming from Ohio State to Baltimore. For me it was. It took me about 2.5 years to get accustomed to being poor. I came to Baltimore. In 1957, we had one whirlpool, and if you wasn't a quarterback, if you wasn't a running back, you didn't touch it. And in cold days, they had 2 hand warmers. That was for the quarterback and the receivers. And you had to fight to get one of those hand warmers to get your hand warm. I remember in Green Bay, it was so cold out there, me and about 5 other guys spotted an old glove laying on the field, and we dove on it and almost lost all 5 of us trying to get to that one glove to put on our hand.
Big Jim Parker lived in a dream world, and his surrealistic visions were the source and sustenance of his professional greatness.
In the back of my mind, I would fantasize a lot. On pass blocking, I would pretend I was a mountain, and that the other guy, he had to get around this mountain, and it was impossible. Sometimes I would pretend I was a freight train running over a pedestrian and just psych myself up before every play.
You run into Jim Parker, it's like just running into the side of a house. I mean, he likes to say of himself as a truck, but you can maybe get away from the truck, but here's the side of a house. And I ran into Parker, and he never gave an inch.
Parker was like putting an apartment house in the line. I mean, literally, the man was so huge. And when I first saw Jim Parker play, I was amazed because he had great quickness, good feet, good balance, and also this incredible size and strength. And I think perhaps the most difficult thing for me to deal with as a defensive lineman was someone who had this huge bulk, who still had enough mobility to move around.
Parker's blocks opened the holes that Lenny Moore ran through en route to the Hall of Fame. But it was in the service of quarterback John Unitas that Jim Parker truly excelled.
He was a workhorse. You couldn't work him hard enough, and I don't think Jim ever refused to do anything that you asked him. And you hardly got any conversation out of Jim in a huddle. Most of the times I asked, Jimmy, you all right? Mm-hmm. And that was it with him. But that's the type of individual that Jimmy was. He was an unselfish man, and he gave everything he had for you.
Parker's peerless pass protection enabled John Unitas and Raymond Berry to develop into the era's most successful pitch-and-catch combination. For when Jim Parker was living out his fantasies, it was tough for mere mortals to make it around the mountain.
I think the best offensive lineman that I played against had to be Jim Parker. He was the toughest individual that I've ever faced in my life.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've seen him mash people and bury him and then gore them. Too many to list.
When I played for the Minnesota Vikings, Jim Parker not only knocked me out on a trap play, but also broke my hand running over me.
Jim was the kind of fella who could get a player put on waivers, a good player. He ruined many Sunday afternoons for defensive ends who were good defensive ends until they tangled with him. He was super. I don't know of any defensive lineman who played at that time who would not vote for him for their all-time All-Pro team.
Jim Parker, the Baltimore Colts' moving mountain, and quite arguably the best offensive lineman of all time. The first pure blocker to be elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Under the midday sun, the light of battle shone brightly in the eyes of Mad Dog Mike Curtis. Number 32 had 11 years of head-on collisions and won almost every one of them. He was a relentless tracker of pass receivers, runners, and quarterbacks. The Mad Dog had all the hunger and hardness a man ever needed to drive him to the top. And he was named to the All-Pro team in only his second season. It was ironic that this future Hall of Fame linebacker came to the Colts at a different position.
Mike Curtis was a great football player that I drafted out of Duke University. And to show you how smart I was, I brought him in and made him a fullback. And after the first year, it was very evident that Mike Curtis was not an offensive player, he was a defensive player.
As a fuzz-cheeked rookie fullback, the first hint of Curtis's fierce nature surfaced in a pre-game incident with Baltimore star quarterback Johnny Unitas.
I played fullback, and I remember I didn't turn around at the line of scrimmage to catch the ball, and he just rifled the ball in the back of my helmet. Well, it angered me so much that I almost went back and decided to do something about it, but then I remembered I was a rookie and I couldn't do that because this guy was a great ball player. But I almost punched him out.
We used to say that Mike had come out and chew the tires off the bus on the way to the game. I mean, he was a pretty vicious football player.
Never has a man been unhappier the day of a game than he would just get beside himself. He hated the Doris Day, the American flag, black and white saddle Oxfords, his own teammates. He had a disposition of a Highland moccasin.
The one thing that would always get me excited was if anybody had anything to say to me. And nobody really talked to me too much because I would look them up throughout the field, wherever the ball was, to chase them down, and then ask them if they had something else smart to say. You got something else smart to say? They got something else, I'd chase them down again. I would just screw up my plays. And every once in a while, in my zest to get to the ball carrier, I forgot, well, you don't have to quite take that angle, or you don't have to do it quite that way, because you have to cover this position. And I would think of that as I was running, then I'd run back and try to get back. So I had a double move, and then I'd go flying up there out of control to try to kill somebody.
Rage was part of Curtis's anatomy. Like a muscle, he flexed it and built it up. He was called a madman in cleats, a notion that was played up by the sporting press.
Here I am, I'm just working hard, trying to do a good job from playing with the You're wrong. There's got to be something. Nobody plays like that unless there's some nutbag. Well, I said, okay, if they want something, I'll tell them something. So I made up these stories. I got a great thrill of running my bike into brick walls. God, that's great stuff. So that went out, and we had these great BB gun fights. You know, we aimed at each other's eyes. Really? Yeah, shoot all the time. We always had those things.
What was not fiction was Curtis's intensity and desire, characteristics that brought out the madness in his method.
If Mike meant for his body to get 14 hours of sleep, then by golly, he would grass the bed for 14 hours and stay in a posture. And I knew when he was asleep and when he wasn't. He might be awake for 8 of those hours. But if I put on deodorant or drop the coat hanger, what are you doing? I'm trying to get my rest.
He was a lawman on the field, and his brand of frontier justice was meted out vividly in a game against the Dolphins.
We're winning. Our momentum is significantly better than Miami's. And here comes Mr. Fan, who wants to join in the momentum. Oh, I don't know what but anyway, he was smashed. So he comes running out on the field, great lark, picks up the ball. When I saw him pick it up, I immediately ran over there and knocked him down, not to hurt him, but to knock him down and get the ball back, get in the game, get rid of his rear end, period. I didn't think it was a joke that I was working out there. A lot of other guys might think it's a joke to see a fan run out there. To me, it was my job.
And after the game, 2 or 3 of us were angry. Bubba Smith and I went to Mike. We said, you shouldn't have done that, Mike. You make us all look bad. He said, that guy broke a city ordinance, and I enforced it. And if he comes back out there again, I'll hit him again.
He was a little to the right of Attila the Hun.
Well, Mike is somewhere to the right of Mussolini in his political views.
Somebody gave me a doll of John Wayne, the Duke, Mr. All-America, he. So I got him in my office, yeah.
In Baltimore, Curtis was a hero bigger than any movie star. And like John Wayne Westerns, all action became secondary to the final shootout.
Marking his counts, takes it away without a fake, rolling to his left side, sets up, and is going to be swarmed under. The ball is free. Baltimore's got it. Racing for the goal line is Mike Curtis. He's to the 15, 10, 5. Curtis scores. Go to war, Miss Agnes. Baltimore's defense.
He led by deeds rather than words. But like the commercial says, when he spoke, everybody listened.
All team meetings are a bunch of wig-oners. And Mike stood up and said, well, I got something to say. I'm going to tell you something. We're going to win the rest of our games. He said, we got 3 games left in the season, then we got 2 playoff games, and then we got the Super Bowl. That's 6 games. I'm going to play the same way I always play. And everybody in this room is going to go full speed all the time in practice and in the game, because if you don't, I'm going to whip your butt myself. Remember, I said that, and he sat down, and we won all 6 games.
Although Mike Curtis left a history of hard hits, championships, and all-pro seasons in Baltimore, his lasting legacy is his image.
Well, one of Tom and Maddie's friends from Baltimore came in, and Tom introduced everybody on the table, and I was the last in the introduction. And you got to picture this. I mean, this is a coat and tie, people wearing diamonds and everything else, you know, around the place. So, and I'd like to introduce you to Mike Curtis, and the guy says, Mike Curtis, you animal, you! Mad Dog!
Mike Curtis, the Mad Dog, a hard hat hero, a warrior.